Hey guys, it's Greg Towne, host of the podcast Go Time, where every week I sit down with some of the top leaders of their industries and professions, and they share with you how they became the trendsetters of their industries. It's Go Time.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Greg Towne, your host of the podcast, Go Time, where every week I get to sit down with some of the top industry movers and shakers and the people that are at the top of their game, and they share with you what they're doing and what they're seeing in the future and what it takes to get up to the top of their game. And today I have the distinct pleasure and honor to sitting down with somebody that I've always admired. It's a person that is probably one of the best productivity, professional people out there, a professional speaker, a published author of several books over, and as I just discovered, a fellow National Speakers Association member, Mr. Don Wetmore. Don, how are you doing today?
I am just a box of fluffy ducks, and thanks for the opportunity to be with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Well, I always like to find out how people got started. What was the path of where they got started? And, so share with us how you got started in becoming such a productivity expert and published author and speaker. And
It really came by accident, Greg. I've had three full-time simultaneous careers in my adult life. Been a full-time practicing attorney over here in Connecticut, a full-time entrepreneur. Started like 25 different businesses, and a full-time college professor. And I've served on the faculty at Mercy College just outside of New York for a number of years. I was a department chair and later taught in the MBA program. And about 25 or so years ago, my boss came to me, my department chair at Mercy College, and asked me to put together a program on productivity and time management for our students. These are kids that are getting out degrees in business and management, but nobody's ever taught them how to manage their most precious resource. So knowing I've been pretty good at my own personal productivity, he asked, got the materials all together, and it never ran. Didn't have a budget for it, and we all know how that works out. And so I just started teaching it on my own, and I think everything I've ever done in my adult life is an excuse to get up in front of people. And friends, relatives, clients would come and listen to me for my initial program, which was about 3 days long. And somewhere along the line, somebody suggested, why don't you charge money for it? And I thought, well, that's a pretty good idea. And I did. And when it was over, they didn't ask for the money back. So I knew I was on the right track. And so that was the birth of how I got into doing this and forming my company called the Productivity Institute. And early on, it was just a basic kind of a time management class, pretty much what almost anybody would think of when you think of time management. Have a good planner, prioritize, delegate where you can, don't waste time in meetings, those kinds of things. But I began to really get into the topic and started to do a lot of research. I published over 100 articles on the topic and done over 2,000 presentations. Written 7 books on the topic, and I've created a curriculum that end to end, if a client were to hire me to do the entire curriculum that I have, runs 38 full training days, Greg. And I talk about not only the tools to make us productive, to help us to become productive, but a lot of the roadblocks that keep us from being fully productive. One of the just as an example, one of the major time thieves that we have in our culture is and 75% of the people complain about this. They're flat out tired. We're a sleep-deprived culture, and there's a bunch of reasons for it. But my point being, if you're flat out tired today, I mean, I can put all kinds of tools in your time management toolbox, but if you're just too darn tired to open it up, it doesn't do you any good. And 3 out of 4 people are lacking in sleep, mostly on account of the way in which they're running their days. Their days are filled with a lot of stress. They're really not in control of their time. They're overwhelmed, and they go to bed at night, and they get that little voice in the back of their head, pulling all the loose strings. What am I going to do about this tomorrow? What am I going to do about that the next day? And they don't get the deep, nutritious sleep or the quantity of sleep that they need. So that's one of the things that we address, and I have programs on how to overcome that, reduce stress, and so on. Some of the non-traditional things when we think about personal productivity.
Interesting. What are some of the best lessons, or what are some of the best techniques you've seen for somebody being able to, I guess, reduce that stress or increase their sleep or increase their energy?
Dr. Hans Selye, who's a psychiatrist out of Montreal and an MD, and he's probably if not one of the recognized greatest experts on this whole topic of stress management. He teaches us that stress is caused by differences between expectations on one level and reality on a different level. When we have expectations about how anything should go, and reality falls short of that, we get a thing called a disappointment, and that disappointment breeds stress. So, for example, in a small little way, let's say that you have an expectation you're going to wash your car this Sunday, this weekend, so you have a nice clean car for going to the work next week. But one thing or another, you're not in control of your time on Sunday, and Monday morning you reach for the handle of a dirty car. And you feel kind of, but it doesn't last but a second or two. But then you look in the mirror, and you meant to get your hair cut over the weekend, and I didn't do that, and you come into work, and some people, they don't file, they pile. They use that external filing system, and so what's your expectation with regard to all the piles of paper? Well, the expectation is that work should be done, and but it's not. And what Dr. Selye tells us is that if you and I had 3 or 4 little failed expectations every single day, life would be a picnic, it'd be a breeze. But the truth of the matter is the average person has hundreds, if not thousands, of these failed expectations each and every day. So that every which way they're working and thinking about, things are not happening the way they're happening, and the stress is starting to build up until eventually we go, And so kind of reverse that process a little bit. So let's say you have an expectation to wash your car this Sunday, and you do. And Monday morning you go out there, you reach for the handle of a nice clean car. Yeah, I'm on top of that. And you look in the mirror, you got your hair cut, and you go in the office, and that paperwork is going down. What is happening to stress in your life as you get in more control of those small little things, those little mosquito bites? It goes down, and this has proven to be a dramatic and a very successful way of getting a handle on that stress. And stress will never eliminate 100%, but it's proven to be a major reducer of stress, which in turn helps people to sleep better, gets them more productive, more in control of what they have to do each day.
Awesome, I love that. I'm a very big supporter of what I call my morning routine. And I typically will have the same routine, regardless of what time my first appointment is for the day or my first commitment is for the day and stuff. Do you also have like a morning routine that you go through or that you recommend?
I do, and it actually starts the night before. And one of the most important things we can do is to plan our day. The most precious resource we have is always the next 24 hours. And that old expression, a lot of people don't plan to fail, but a lot of people do fail to plan. And so I find it useful to do my daily planning, if you will, in the evening, typically after the evening meal around 7 o'clock. And I spend probably a good half an hour doing it, maybe even more. And I'm really kind of having a board of directors meeting in the most important corporation in the world, which is me Incorporated. And I take a look at all the things that are coming up in the future and make my plan of action for the next day. And I take a look at all the items on my to-do list and my appointments and ask if there's anything I can do in anticipation of these things coming up. Can I delegate any of it? Is there a better way of handling these things? In other words, can I just FedEx something to someone and make little kind of improvements and really get a good plan of action for the next day? And I do that the night before so that when I go to bed at night, I go to bed with a sense of certainty and control about my day and a sense of anticipation. Imagine, Greg, it's Friday night, you're going to bed, and you're going to be off for the next week, you're going on vacation. And when you go to bed at night, you don't have anything planned. You're just going to go out there to SeaTac or wherever the airport's closest to you and hope you get a ticket on an airline at a reasonable price to a destination you might want to go to. And then you show up and there's a Shriners convention going on. There are no hotel rooms. excuse me, you're going to be up all night long, tossing and turning. What am I going to do about this? What am I going to do about that? So for most of us, what do? You make the reservations in advance, and 24 hours in advance, you get online and do the seat selection and the boarding pass. And you get your hotel reservations, and you're not up all night, depriving yourself of the sleep that's so important to enjoy that vacation. And you have a much more productive vacation. So every day's not a vacation, but it's the same principle. Where you go to bed at night, you've got a sense of certainty and control and a sense of anticipation, and the quality of your sleep improves. The next piece of it, when I get up, I normally used to get up at about 7 o'clock in the morning and go through my normal routine and have coffee and read the newspaper and breakfast and this, that, and the other, and be ready to go at 9 o'clock. And I learned something about 20 or so years ago, and I've done it ever since. I now get up an hour before that normal wake-up time, and so instead of 7, it's 6. And if I'm traveling and have other appointments, I'll have to adjust it even further. But typically, I'm getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. But I don't get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and start on my normal, usual routine, because if my normal routine takes me 2 hours, and I get up an hour earlier, and I start my normal routine, what took 2 hours will take 3 hours, and I've accomplished nothing. It's sort of like Parkinson's law in reverse. A project tends to expand with the time allocated for it. So I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to do some very specific things. And it starts off with waking up with not the morning radio news with all the latest rapes and wars and murders from overnight, but a soft, easy listening station or chime, or most of the time I have an internal clock that wakes me up. And as soon as I wake up, I sit right on the edge of the bed in a very loud voice, screaming and yelling, waving my arms. I yell out this mantra: I'm healthy, I'm happy, and I'm in control. By the way, I will tell you this. The first time I heard about that, I did that the first night, and the first morning I woke up. And so since that day, my wife has not permitted me to wake up and scream and yell. And, so if you don't want to offend other people, you do it silently, okay?
Yeah.
And then I get up out of bed and go brush my teeth or whatever. And during the first 15 minutes, say 6 to 6:15, I want to do some positive visualization. And here's the reason for this whole little exercise. When we go through a 24-hour cycle, we go through 4 levels of consciousness and unconsciousness. When we're up and fully awake, which I hope our listeners are at that level right now, that's known as the beta level. You're very much aware of your surroundings. You're looking around for the tigers, and the like. Then several times throughout the day, we kind of chill out, veg out, zone out, and we're still conscious, but not at that high level where the brainwave cycles are much higher, the physical cycles are much higher. And that's known as the alpha level. And then when we go into unconsciousness, the first level of unconsciousness is the theta level, which is best described as light sleep. And then we get down to that deep, nutritious sleep that's so important to our body's refreshment, and that's known as the delta level. Well, come on back up again, if you will, to that alpha level. Excuse me. During the first 15, 20 minutes of our waking day, you and I are in the alpha state. Now, why is that so important? Because in the alpha state, you and I are at the highest level of learning receptivity. Studies have shown that the brainwave cycles, physical cycles, are very conducive to the learning. In fact, if some of your listeners have a learning challenge, maybe they got kids in school or they're going to school and they really want to accelerate the productivity of their learning, there are several programs out there that can help them to literally get into the alpha state. One of them that I took, I found very valuable, was the entitled the Silva Mind Control Method. That's SILVA. You can get it on Google. They have books and CDs and the like. There's some other programs like Speed Learning and the like. And it's not something new to us because we do it automatically throughout the day. But it just teaches us how to get into that alpha state so that we can significantly increase our learning retention and comprehension and reduce the time that it takes us. So I recommend that as a program. All right, so let's go back first 15, 20 minutes of our waking day. You and I are automatically in that alpha state. You put one foot in front of the other, not 100% awake. Now, why is that so important? Because in the alpha state, we're at the highest level of learning receptivity. Okay, so how do we learn? We learn by what we see, by what we smell, by what we taste, by what we hear, by what we feel, and by what we think. And what happens is a lot of people getting up first thing in the morning, and they haven't planned the day the night before. Maybe it's one of these cold, rainy days out west there in Washington State. And they open up one eye and they go, oh my God, what am I going to do about this today? What am I going to do about that today? And they're loading up with a bunch of negativity, okay? Or they turn on the morning radio news to hear all the latest from rapes and wars from overnight. Or they go to the newspaper and they look at the obituary page to see if they're on it. And what's happening during that first 15, 20 minutes of our waking days, we're literally setting the stage for the entire day. We've heard that expression, oh, Greg, he's having a bad day. He got on the wrong side of the bed this morning. Well, it's got nothing to do with what side of the bed you get out of physically, but it has everything to do with what side of the bed you get out of mentally. And a lot of how you go to get up in the morning mentally has a lot to do with how you went to bed the night before. So we put the pieces together, plan your day, resolve your conflicts for the day, have a plan of action, and when you go to bed at night, get that good, nutritious sleep. First thing in the morning, get up an hour before your normal wake-up time. Start with the mantra, I'm healthy, happy, and in control. Gets the positive thoughts going. And then 15 minutes of positive visualization. See good things happening, things in the past, things that are currently happening. Because the interesting thing is, as long as there's a positive thought going on, it's very difficult for the negative to come in. You're literally setting the stage for the day. And then the next part of my routine, the next 15 minutes, I do some inspirational reading. I want to keep a positive thought going, and that helps me to kind of ground myself and help me to identify my basic values. And then the final piece of it is to go on outside and walk for at least for 30 minutes during that 1 hour. And while I'm out there, testing all my senses and stop and smell things and hear things and all of that. And you may recall from one of my seminars, I talk in terms of the 7 vital areas of life. Our lives are made up of 7 key areas: our health, our family, and our financial, intellectual, social, professional, and spiritual dimensions. And one of the key ingredients to productivity is maintaining balance in each and every one of those. And that doesn't mean we're going to spend equal amounts of time in each area or time every single day. But in the long term, we're spending a sufficient quantity and quality time. Our lives are going to be solid. So coming back to this 1 hour wake up in the morning, what we've done is in that 1 hour, we've taken control of our mind, our body, and our environment. And we've serviced some, if not all, of our 7 vital areas. And there's a health component. You go out and walk. Reading, there's a mental health component. Family, a lot of folks that I know will go out with family members on the walk or bring the kids out. Financially, get some financial thoughts in order. You're doing some reading. There's an intellectual component. You're probably going to run into a neighbor or two you didn't know you had, so there's a social component. Get some professional, some spiritual thoughts in order. That's all in that 1 hour. And what did it cost you, by the way? Because people say, I get up an hour early, I'm gonna miss that sleep, I'm gonna be more tired. Well, if you really believe that, go to bed an hour earlier. But for most people, your body will adjust. Now, that's a pretty good swap. And what you've done is you've created a string of victories under your belt. And this is the critical piece. A string of victories under your belt that is going to play out favorably against every other decision you make for the rest of the day. You know how many decisions the average person makes in a day? It's over 5,000. 5,000 times. I'll have this coffee. I won't have it. I'm going to make this phone call. I won't. I'm going to wear this shirt. I won't make this shirt. In small little ways now that will accelerate your productivity, not by spending any more time, just by spending your time better. So, for example, I've been meaning to control the waistline. I've been doing a pretty good job, but I could do a little bit better. And I get up some morning. I didn't do the planning at night, and I get up in a blousy mood, and I drag myself in the office. And Susan comes in, and she's got this beautiful tray of blueberry muffins. Now, I know I should be resisting. I know I should be dieting, but you know what? The day's in the bucket anyway. I'll just start that diet when? Tomorrow. Give me 6 of those muffins. But do you see what I'm saying? I mean, how if I got up in the morning an hour before my wake-up time and I went outside and I faced the snow and did the reading, all of the things that I just outlined, those simple steps, that temptation is still going to come under my nose at, 9:30 in the morning. But you see where I'm going to be in a little better position to make a better choice, to enhance my productivity and my health and so forth. And that'll happen 5,000 times in the day. That's my morning routine.
Oh, wow. What have been some of your best experiences? What have been, through your multiple careers, or what do you look back on, that puts the biggest smile on your face?
The biggest what? I'm sorry?
The biggest smile on your face. What are some of your best experiences or memories?
It's got to be in the it's got to be in what I'm doing now, and I've certainly enjoyed and have great memories of all the things that I've done. But to get right to the point, I think the greatest experience that I have, and I'm continuing to have, is the training that I'm doing overseas. I have an agent in the Middle East that I've been working with now for several years, and he brings me and some other U.S. Speakers over there a couple of times a year. And with all the talk on the political side, on the Arab Street and down with America and all that sort of thing, the experience that I've had has been just phenomenal. The folks in the Middle East, and I'm going to places like Qatar and Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, but we're drawing in students from all throughout the Middle East. In some of the trouble spots, from Yemen, Iraq, Iran, Yemen, Kuwait, and so on. And these folks are extremely appreciative of Western business training. And so it's a very, all of the programs I do, of course, I know my audiences appreciate that, but it's just a notch above, and it's been quite a unique experience. In fact, just one quick anecdote. I only speak English. I don't speak Arab, and half my audience doesn't speak English, so I have to have a translator with me all the time. So when I first went over there, my agent suggested that I learn a traditional Arab greeting. I get introduced, so I make a connection. Yeah. So I'm introduced. Here's Dr. Wetmore from America, and it was my turn to talk, and I gave the greeting, which goes like this. It goes, Assalamu alaikum, which basically means peace be with you. And you can see the smile, and this is all done through the translator. So you can see the smile on their face, and you kind of made that connection. Well, after a couple of days, and this was like a 4 or 5 day program, and they've got a great sense of humor as well, I started off the class by saying, look, I went to the trouble of learning a traditional Arab greeting. I'd like to teach you all a traditional American greeting. And they're all kind of listening through the translator and sitting around a kind of a horseshoe thing, and they're dressed in their Arab garb. And I said, I come from the East Coast of the United States, just outside of New York City. And I'm standing up there, and I can't quite do the visual here. But I said, and it kind of goes like this. How you doing? And they all got the translation. Excuse me, a little tickle in my throat or a tear in my eye here. And they're sitting there going, how you doing? And I said, la, 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 la. No, attitude. How you doing? And they finally caught on to it. So, but yeah. That is probably the biggest smile, I think, and it's extremely rewarding.
Gotcha. What do you see are changing in the field, or is there anything you're seeing coming up on the horizon?
There's certainly e-learning is a huge thing. Webcasts. Look at all the different platforms that we have today to get information out that we didn't have 10 years ago. I've been involved in the National Speakers Association for many years, and it was probably 15, 20 years ago when the advent of webcasts was coming to the fore, and we as trainers were going to get really in trouble because, I mean, why pay a trainer to come in and pay a high fee? We can just videotape him and on and on and on. And the death of our industry, and of course the calls for death are always premature. Face-to-face training. There's no substitute for face-to-face training. I think that's the bottom line. About 20% of my business is coaching. There's virtual coaching that's available. It's not as effective. I'm not saying it's not effective at all. It's not as effective. You want training done right. And the worst training that you can do is the training that doesn't work. Yes. And there's nothing like getting in front of with a trainer, being in the room, being present, being part of the group, and all that. I've done a lot of work with the Blockbuster Video, and of course they wound up out of business. But early on, I was questioning them about whether or not movie theaters, with Blockbuster and some of the others, and now of course Netflix and all that. Why would people go to a movie theater and pay money? Well, the movies business is doing quite well because there's no substitute for getting with a group of people and sharing an experience. So I know the trends are going to continue, and we're going to get better about online training and all of that. And I'm struggling to keep pace with it as much as anybody else. Social media, all of that stuff. but the bottom line is always going to be face-to-face. I strongly believe that.
Gotcha. What's that one question you wish more people would ask you?
Can you present tomorrow?
You know, I think I'm going to steal that as my one question I wish more people would ask me.
What's the one question I wish people would ask me? I guess probably the best question is how can I increase my personal productivity? Mm-hmm. And I say that for this reason. 95% of the population can benefit from what I do. Everybody's got a time management thing, but only 5% of the population really understand it. And so to stimulate that question, and this is kind of a marketing technique, I travel a lot. I fly 100 times a year. I learned this years ago. So I'm sitting next to somebody who perhaps is a sales manager or somebody who might benefit from what I do. And I chat with them about, maybe their sales staff, maybe they got 20 or 30 people. And I ask 3 questions, Greg, and I can lead this to actually closing business before the plane lands. 3 questions. Question number 1, I'd say, Joe, on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with the overall productivity of your sales staff? And 80% of the people are going to say a 6 or a 7. Some people are going to say a 10. If they say a 10, I'll change the conversation. We'll talk about the weather. Because I don't want to sell people. I don't want to cram anything down their throat,
Yeah.
And the second question is, so what are the issues keeping your folks from being at a higher number? And I just sit and listen. It's they don't delegate, it's this and that and the other. And then the third question is it something that's serious enough that you'd like to kind of take a look at some solutions? And on that answer, in that short period, and I haven't had a great deal of time to build a great trust or anything, probably 80% of the folks are going to say, no, it is a problem. I appreciate that, but no, I'm not really looking to do anything about it. And I say, fine, that's great. Let's talk about something else. But 20% of the people say, yeah, I think it is. What do you have in mind? And I say, listen, I don't know what your schedule is. The plane's going to land in an hour. Let's go have a drink. Let's go have a coffee, and let me just sit with you and see if I can give you some tips and pointers. And half of them say yes, and I've got an appointment. And then, after so many appointments, I probably close 1 out of 3 of those. So I'm doing that in reverse because I want to talk to people who not only have productivity issues, and that's 95% of the population, but that's not enough for me to do business and not enough for me to help them. They've got to know it. And so the best question that somebody can ask is say, Don, how can I get more productivity on my day? How can I help my people? That's the question I like being asked. Because that's the person who recognizes the value of what I do.
Yeah.
And it's no different in any business, whether in real estate or you're doing coaching or you're in professional services, an attorney or whatever. I mean, as an attorney or a CPA, you don't want to chase clients and kind of convince them they need legal services or tax advice. You want the client who already understands what the need is, and then the question of the chemistry that you guys can connect with.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I love that. Love that. What are some of the best ways for our followers to connect with you or to follow you? Is there like social media that you'd love to connect with them on, or websites?
Yeah, go to LinkedIn, and they can find me there, and I'd be very pleased to accept their invitation. And I post a variety of articles on my LinkedIn page. I've got probably over 100 articles that I've posted. That's a resource for them. I have a Twitter account. I post timely time management tips from time to time. My handle is Time Guy. And also through LinkedIn, I have a group, Timely Time Management Tips. They can source that out, and I've got a couple of thousand folks that follow me on that. Go to my website. It's balancetime.com, balancetime.com. I got a ton of stuff on there. There's a bunch of articles on there. There's a stress test that people can take, and it'll actually calculate the score so they can figure out how screwed up they are. And they want to shoot me a line, and I have an open invitation to all of your listeners for a free consultation. It typically takes about a half an hour, where we can chat and get into a little bit of depth, and I can give them some specific suggestions as we've been talking about here. My email address is ctsem, that's for Connecticut Seminar, ctsem at msn.com.
Gotcha.
Or you can call me on the big fiber optically thing, 203-386-8062.
Gotcha. Interesting. Any parting comments or thoughts or insights or inspirations from you today?
One of the big lessons, Greg, that I've learned about time management, and this I think is what I can leave folks with, I have found time and again, there is very little correlation between the quantity of time that we put in on anything and what the output is over here. And I'm not saying no correlation. You do have to put in some time. And the proof of that is in just looking at the results that people have, because time is a great equalizer. We all have 24 hours a day,
Yes.
7 days a week. So that doesn't change. So why is it this person over here makes $10,000 a year, this person makes $10 billion a year? And you could say, well, maybe they're smarter, but not 10 billion times smarter than the average bear. No.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just using their time differently. And so one of the great productivity, given that there's no real correlation between the time that you're putting in and what the output is over here, I've always made it a practice to seek out a mentor in anything that I wanted to do. Find the person who's achieving what I want to achieve in my seminar business, in health, in family, all of those things. And go to that person and find out what's their recipe, because that's what it really is. It comes down to a recipe, isn't it?
Yeah.
And find out how they're using their time. And then start to use my time in a similar fashion. And I produce similar results. It's not rocket science. We don't have to, figure it out ourselves. And when I try to kind of figure it all out by myself, it tends to bite me in the butt. And I got to tell you, with all the careers that I've had, and all the things that I've had, I've always belonged to my professional association. When I got into this business, I didn't even look at it as a business, and I didn't look for my professional association. And the first 6 years, and I'm a marketing genius, by the way. I don't know if you know that. I've got to tell everybody. I have an MBA with a concentration in marketing. So Greg, I went about and I did every stupid, boneheaded thing in the seminar business. The first 6 years, I only trained 600 people. I was $150,000 in debt. I mean, it's a true story.
Oh, wow.
I spent $40,000 on a radio campaign and produced nothing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I always believe that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And across my desk came a flyer from the New England chapter of the National Speakers Association, and they were having a speaker school up in Worcester, Massachusetts. And I go, well, all right, shame on me, of course. That's our professional association. Why not? And I went. Long story short, I've been a member over these years, and I talked to folks in the association, and these are the movers and shakers, and I asked them, how do you do it? How do you promote? And maybe they're not promoting productivity training, but they're promoting sales training or whatever. But it's all the same kind of a concept, and I get the answers, which eventually I suppose I could figure out myself. Here's the bottom line: first 6 years in the business, I trained 600 people. The next 14 years, I trained over 100,000.
Wow.
That's the difference. That's productivity. Now talk about that as a comparison of productivity. I improved my productivity by what? 15 times, 20 times. Not by working any harder, but just by working smarter.
Yeah.
In fact, I did it last time because I was spending a lot of my time doing stuff that didn't do anything. So the difference between efficiency and productivity, efficiency is just doing something faster. If you're doing the wrong thing in the first place, it gets you nowhere faster. So
absolutely.
Seeking out, you're in real estate, you're in law, you're in accounting, whatever profession you're in, you gotta find your heroes, you gotta find your mentors. The best way to do it is through our professional associations. Every profession has their professional associations, and talk to these people, get to know these people, and network with these people, and develop relationships, and find out how they're doing it. And by the way, don't forget to give that back when it comes your time to help somebody else along the way. You know, what goes around comes around. You want to help other people as well. But that is the key to huge increases in our productivity in all of those 7 vital areas.
Yeah. I have to agree with you 110% on that. It is. I joined the National Speakers Association roughly about a year or so now. I've been a member with them, and went to one of their conferences last year called Influence, and I tell people point blank, I was blown away by how open and honest and everybody was, all the other speakers and trainers were with me on how to set up my company and how to promote myself and what steps need to be done. And was just, I mean, and you find that in the professional organizations. And I agree with you, no matter what industry that I'm working within, I always look out to join professional organizations.
Yeah, and we as members of NSA or any of these professional associations, we're doing it out of enlightened self-interest. The worst thing that can happen to our profession is people come into the profession and they do a bad job of it, and then we're all painted with a bad brush.
Yep.
And that was the founding principle of the NSA. I mean, let's elevate the profession. And I early on, I mean, there was a hue and cry. Oh, we're going to divide up the pie to smaller pieces for everybody. No, we're going to grow the pie by increasing the professionalism of professional speakers and make it more of an attractive thing in the marketplace. And that's exactly what's happened. I mean, the professional speaking industry has exploded. And organizations like NSA have helped to those who are interested in the profession, help them to do it and help them to do it properly and professionally, so we all benefit from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a win-win deal for all of us.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for joining us this week. I greatly appreciate it. I know I've learned a lot. I've taken down a whole bunch of notes myself personally, and definitely looking forward to the next time we cross paths again.
Sounds great to me, Greg, and thanks for reaching out. We'll chit-chat soon.
All right.
Have a great and a productive 2017 and beyond, my friend.
Definitely. You do the same.